Welcome to Getting Your Dream Smile with Cosmetic Dentistry. This is where we discuss and help patients get what they want in a smile while being totally informed. Whether it is porcelain veneers, bonding, whitening, or Invisalign, you'll find out what is best for your situation. Everything you should know, where and who to see, and all the costs involved. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Getting Your Dream Smile with Cosmetic Dentistry. I'm Sabrina, your co-host today, and I work with Dr. Eshom to inform the public about the best ways to achieve your best smile. Dr. Eshom has been practicing dentistry for over 25 years, and he's an American Academy of Cosmetic Dentistry credentialed dentist. Let me introduce to you Dr. David Eshom.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for tuning into our podcast here. Sabrina and I are going to be going over Bioclear because we've gotten so many questions through our podcast and our YouTube channel about what Bioclear is, and especially they get to see what it can do, but a lot of questions on what it costs. And so we're going to go over Bioclear, what it can do, and what it could cost, all in about 20 minutes. And so I hope you stand by for this great podcast. So how do we get started here, Sabrina?
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what Bioclear is, because I'm sure many of the viewers and the listeners are not sure about what that essentially means in terms of dentistry.
Well, Bioclear is a great hybrid procedure that kind of fits between bonding and porcelain veneers. And so the problem with bonding is that it chips and stains. And the problem that Bioclear solves is it doesn't chip and stain, and it also doesn't require your tooth to be ground on. And so that's what's great about Bioclear. Bonding didn't necessarily require your tooth to be ground on or ground down, but it chipped and stained. But now we have Bioclear, we don't have to grind your tooth down, and it's nice and strong and looks beautiful. So that's what Bioclear is and where it fits in the cosmetic dentistry tools.
Gotcha.
So let me show some examples of what Bioclear is and what it can do. And one of the first things that Bioclear does really, really well is to close a space. And as you can see in this top picture, you know, this person has this huge gap. So there's a huge gap between these two teeth. And with Bioclear, using warm injection molding and a great polishing technique, we can close this space so it looks like the teeth were always that size and the person never had a space. And then we also fixed the chip. And so that is one of the wonderful things Bioclear can do. And then none of this tooth structure was removed in order to get this result. So that's how that fits. Next, I'm going to go into another thing that Bioclear can do, and that is to change a single dark tooth. So, and then this will show you a little bit about how the method works. So our patient here is a beautiful young lady that goes to college up at UC Berkeley. And she was always hindered by this dark tooth because it doesn't match her front ones. So normally in past, we'd have to grind this tooth down and then put a porcelain veneer on it. Mm-hmm. And so with Bioclear, we can do the same thing with less grinding. I can't tell you there's no grinding, but we can just cover the top of it to make it match. And so after we do it, here's a close-up of it, and you can see how dark it is and some of the chips she has on her other teeth. And then here it is finished with the Bioclear over it and then the matching. But that is wonderful. But let me just show you a little bit about the method of how this is done. We start out by preparing the tooth with what I call Bluetooth. And sometimes you think that's your phone, Bluetooth, but this is dental Bluetooth, which helps us connect, just like your Bluetooth helps you connect your phone, but helps us connect Bioclear to the tooth. And so with the Bluetooth, we get the tooth ready. And then we injection mold tooth-colored filling over the top of your tooth using Bioclear matrices. You can barely see them there, they're clear. And then we use a Uveneer that goes over the top of that. We clear off the excess, and then we cure it with a curing light. And then it looks like this when we're done. Not perfect, but pretty close to perfect. So we clean off the excess, we add our little spot where we had a void, and then clean up around the gum so there's no overhangs. Shape it a little bit with my handpiece. Use some polishing discs. You can see our tooth is still long, so we're still working on this. Use some definitely diamond polishing paste, and then it ends up looking like this. So you can hardly tell that this tooth was dark before, and it looks just like the one next to it. So those are the amazing things Bioclear can do for someone, and this is all done in one visit. And so I know we are going to talk about costs, and so I thought I'd go over costs of this here. So a Bioclear Uveneer covers your whole tooth just like a porcelain veneer. But a porcelain veneer costs $2,000 in our office, and this Bioclear Uveneer only costs $1,350. So in terms of using Bioclear, you save money, but you also save tooth structure. And so the tooth structure is priceless. And so if you save your tooth structure over your lifetime, you're not going to have trouble with your teeth, or definitely have fewer troubles with your teeth, because you didn't grind them down when you were young. So that's a little bit about Bioclear and the Bioclear Uveneer. But I forgot to go over our diastema closure, because I showed you this before, but I didn't tell you the cost. For this diastema closure, we have to cover the tooth here. Then on the inside, we have to cover the same amount. And we have to estimate exactly half of the space, exactly half of the space. So we're covering one surface, two surface, three surface on one tooth, and then three surfaces on another tooth, and then do this calculation. And so we only charge for the space closure, even though we're working on 2 teeth and covering 6 surfaces. And so the cost of this is $1,250 to do a diastema closure like this. So instead of 2 porcelain veneers, $2,000 and $2,000, we have $1,250. And so it saves tooth structure, saves money. And that's basically going to be the theme of tonight in what Bioclear can do for people with cosmetic dentistry. So Sabrina, does that leave you with any questions or any things you'd like to point out to our audience?
Yeah, I have a question about why someone would choose Bioclear Uveneers over porcelain veneers, and potentially the pros and cons of Bioclear Uveneers.
Okay, I'm happy to go over that with you. And with our next case, I'll be able to explain that.
Awesome.
So we already know with the pros and cons, we're saving money.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other great pro for Bioclear is you're saving tooth structure. And so let me use Therese as an example of how much tooth structure you would save. Hopefully it'll let me write here. There we go. So here's Therese, and obviously she hates this big triangle right here.
Mm-hmm.
And so at one point we talked about doing porcelain veneers for these 2 teeth. And in some ways I'm really happy she didn't do that 10 years ago, because now we have Bioclear. So if she had done porcelain veneers, I'll show you how much tooth structure would have to have been ground down. So all this tooth structure for her would be gone. And then the same over here. All this tooth structure would have been gone. But the big advantage to Bioclear is you don't have to grind the tooth down, you just have to add. Sorry, my drawings aren't the best, but you just have to add where this triangle is and blend it to her root with no tooth structure removed. Nothing, just blended. So let me show you what that looks like with our next picture. So here's the same tooth.
Can't even tell.
And this is where the Bioclear comes up and adds to her tooth. And this is where the Bioclear comes up and adds to her tooth. So isn't that amazing? No tooth structure removed, just addition.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so just addition is fantastic because nobody wants their teeth ground on. And we only do that in our office when you're in a minimally invasive cosmetic dentist, when there's no other choice. And so I'm so glad we had that opportunity to take care of Therese. She not only took care of these two teeth, but she liked the triangle closure so much, she did her lower teeth, where she had multiple triangles on her lower teeth. And then again, this is what they look like at the end. Here's our Bioclear here, here's our Bioclear here, here's our Bioclear here. And so all the tooth structure saved, just adding to her tooth without any grinding.
I love how it looks so natural. Like, you can't even tell that there was any work done on it.
Absolutely, and it blends in so perfectly, and that is a tribute to the process and to the type of composite which we use, which is made by 3M, and it's called Filtech Supreme. It also requires us to place it in a heater, so the composite is heated so that it's warm enough and it thins enough so that we can warm injection mold it around the tooth so that we get these great results. Mm-hmm. So that is what a black triangle closure is. Let's see if I have, here's the case, both upper and lower, where we close multiple triangles. And each of these triangles, from a cost standpoint, if you wanted to know that, I'm sure you do, runs $950. So again, we work on 3 different surfaces of the tooth, the tongue side, in between, and on the outside. So there's 6 surfaces covered very, very meticulously. And so it runs $950 for black triangle closure. Let's go to our next case, and this next case is an example of a method we call Incisal Rejuvenation. So a lot of people are happy with the bottom parts of their teeth. They're happy with the color of their teeth. But in this instance, this young lady didn't like the edges of her teeth and how open they were, and then a little bit how jagged they were. So we do a procedure called Incisal Rejuvenation to help close some of these spaces up and make the teeth look either a little bit longer or a little bit more square. In her instance, she wanted them more square. And so we did Incisal Rejuvenation along her front teeth. And so that looks like this. And again, we blended into her natural tooth. She wanted them more square. That's not necessarily my aesthetic eye, is to have them more square, but that's what she wanted. And so we did Incisal Rejuvenation on the bottom. We did it on the top, and then got her to look. This is her smile before, and then that's her smile after. You can see how more profound and less dark spaces there are on this smile versus this smile. And so she was very, very pleased. We didn't take any tooth structure away. We just added. So the cost for Incisal Rejuvenation is $650 per tooth. And so you can choose how many teeth you want to have rejuvenated, and then we rejuvenate them according to your wishes. And it lasts long, it doesn't stain, and it serves you really, really well to have a nice, confident, big smile.
Awesome.
So any thoughts on that, Sabrina?
Well, what recommendations do you have to the audience and the listening audience of what they should look for in a cosmetic dentist, especially when options like this are around?
Well, you know, again, this podcast is about choosing a good cosmetic dentist. And my suggestion, as you'll hear in all my other podcasts, is that you want to choose a cosmetic dentist that is trained, but it also has a minimally invasive philosophy. So that dentist will lead you along the way as to how you can get your best smile, either without taking any tooth structure away at all, or with just taking the minimum amount. And so here in our office, we use Invisalign, doesn't take any tooth structure away, gives people a better smile. We use Bioclear, doesn't take any tooth structure away most of the time, and gives you a better smile. And then in instances where big color changes are, big chips or big restorations are needed, then we use porcelain veneers, which are still conservative, but not nearly as conservative as Bioclear or Invisalign.
Dr. Eshom, we have lovely Lilian asking a question. She asks, which kind of a material you use to close between the teeth?
Again, we use a composite material that is heated and warm injected. And you saw that in our diastema closure. And it looks just like tooth structure and lasts a long time and resists stain. So we use composite that is heated. And it's really important that it's heated. So let's go. Anything else you have, Sabrina?
I think you covered basically every one of my questions.
Okay. Well, good. Let's show the audience a little bit more about what Bioclear can do in this gentleman's case. So this gentleman got finished with Invisalign and didn't like the shape of his front teeth. They're kind of teardrop shaped. This is more, no offense to men, a feminine shape. And then this is really worn and the edge is really off. And so it doesn't look even. And so this edges need to be even. And then this tooth needs to be bulked out and to look more masculine. So actually, I did not do this case. This is a case that Dr. Nip, my cosmetic dentistry resident, did. And so this patient went from this smile to this smile.
Oh, wow.
And you can see the edges are more even. The teeth are shaped a little bigger and a little more masculine. And it just finished his smile very nicely. Now this restoration was a Bioclear Uveneer, as were these other four. And then we just did an addition onto his cuspid on this side and this side. So that would be like a half of a diastema closure. So here's the teeth before up close, and here they are finished.
Oh, that's amazing.
So again, with Bioclear Uveneers, they run $13.50 per tooth. And then this was half of a diastema closure. So this ran $6.75 per tooth on that. And so that was the before and after again. And then our patient, and then his handsome face. And this is the smile that inspired him to ask his fiancée to get married.
Aww.
And they ended up getting married so that he had a great wedding smile. So a good story about James. So those are Bioclear Uveneers. And then lastly, to stay within the time limits of our podcast, I want to go over Reham's case, which is a accumulation of everything that we just talked about. We talked about incisal rejuvenation, we talked about diastema closure, we talked about Bioclear Uveneers. And so Reham's case used all those in one case. And so here's her smile before. And you can see the stains on her teeth. You can see the spaces on her teeth. You can see how the incisal edges are very uneven and worn and chipped. And she wanted a better smile because she is a high school counselor. And so she went into, you know, kind of some heated confrontations between a principal, a student, a parent, and then she needed to come in and cause there to be peace and negotiation and a better outcome for the students. And so she always felt when she walked into a room that she wanted to greet the people with a smile to kind of lessen the tension. But she described her smile like I've never heard someone describe her smile. So when she walked into the room, she said her smile looked uneducated. And so she wasn't proud of her smile, and she thought her smile made her look like she wasn't that smart. She hadn't gone to school, And so what is she in there doing? Counseling them. So she wanted a smile that looked better and looked more professional. And so she drove 2.5 hours to see me. And we did her smile makeover in one day. And we worked on 13 teeth, the uppers and the lowers. I'll show you both here. Here is the retractor with the lowers and all that. We worked on 13 teeth. We took all this stain away, took all these edges away. We closed all these diastemas to look like this.
Oh, wow. You can't even tell.
And so, she left here with a tear in her eye and so happy with the way things came out because, she wasn't sure, that the Bioclear method could do this. And the last thing she wanted to do was to grind on her teeth. And so we granted her wish. We didn't grind on her teeth, and we gave her a great smile. And so I'm very, very proud of this case. And I'm very proud of Reham for the type of person she is to make this kind of change and to take this kind of chance so that she can have a better life and a better smile and can serve her clients, her high school students better and feel confident about herself each time she walks into a room. So, Sabrina, what do you think and how would you summarize?
Well, I think that Bioclear is an amazing option for people who are looking to rejuvenate their smile but don't necessarily want to go the full lengths of grinding out their teeth, because grinding out your teeth, that's a permanent decision and you can't get your teeth back. And not only that, with Bioclear, it's a cheaper option and it can really change someone's confidence and how they portray themselves and interact with others. And I think that's the most important part about dentistry and being able to rejuvenate someone's smile.
Great. Well, thanks. Yeah, and that's what we want to bring to our audience, the knowledge that will help them make the best decisions so that they can get their smile in the most conservative way possible. And so in our podcast, that's what we talk about. Look in the past podcast and look at the subject to see if it's something you're interested in. We've talked about how to choose a cosmetic dentist, what's involved in doing a cosmetic dentistry consult. We've talked about Invisalign and how Invisalign is cosmetic dentistry. Now we've talked about Bioclear and the costs of Bioclear and how much Bioclear can help you with cosmetic dentistry and save your tooth structure. So there's a wealth of information in our podcast, so make sure you drop in on some of the other ones to get your mind fully educated so you can pick the best cosmetic dentistry for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. I hope this was helpful for you and understanding what Bioclear is. Thank you, Dr. Eshom, for sharing your amazing knowledge. It really does help our patient understand what they should look for in a cosmetic dentist. And if you have any other questions, be sure to click the link in the bio to ask us your questions. Other than that, stay tuned for our next episode, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to Getting Your Dream Smile with Cosmetic Dentistry with Dr. David Eshom. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast to be notified about future episodes. Click the link in the description to fill out a form if you have any questions on cosmetic dentistry or your smile that you want us to answer. See you next episode.